welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about a stage of recovery that I didn't know existed, that I had no idea was coming for me, and it's been extremely unpleasant. Maybe some of you have already dealt with this, been through it, and you can tell me, Sharon, it gets better. Maybe you're going through this with me, and we can kind of hold each other's hands. Maybe you are still with the narcissist and you're dreaming about leaving, not knowing that this is up the road. That is that the shock wears off. Eventually, you are real again. You're in the world again, and you see everything that you've lost. You feel the loss. You can't believe that this happened to you. It's absolutely shocking. And that is where I am right now. For those of you that don't know, I left my ex. I got through the divorce. I've been divorced for about a year. I'm living my life. I thought everything was going well. And one day, I started feeling shock. I can't believe it. I can't believe this happened. It doesn't seem real. It's absolutely stunning. A big problem that I have, you guys, is my phone. I have so many pictures on my phone, like 16,000 photos on my phone. And if you have an iPhone like I do, you know that random pictures will show up, or even on Facebook, it'll say, 5 years ago today, and it'll show something. And I look and I can't believe that this happened to me. How can this be? I lost everything. I guess I shouldn't say I lost everything, because the things I needed the most were my animals and my children. I lost my whole world. Everything that I thought was real. Now, it was never real, but I thought it was real. I believed it was real. And I miss New Hampshire, you guys. I miss it. I miss my friends. My kids miss their friends. We had to leave everything for freedom. And at the end of the day, it's worth it. It was worth it. I mean, there's so many stories I've heard about people who have abandoned everything. I mean, think about people, I'm not like I'm trying to compare my life to this, but like the Holocaust. All of a sudden, they lost everything just to escape and have a chance to start over. That's what I feel like happened to me, like to escape and have this chance to start over. And it hits me so hard, I can't believe it. It's given me a deep depression. I told you guys a while ago that I was dealing with a depression. I think that was like the very beginning of the shock hitting in, because now it's gotten to the point where I cannot sleep without listening to something. I do not want to be alone in my thoughts in my head. I can't stand it. I worry about everything. I worry about moving forward. I worry about my kids. I'm afraid. They were children and all these terrible things happened to them. They had to flee their home in the middle of the night. They missed their friends. I miss my friends. I miss New Hampshire. I know that they do too. And this was all for a chance, just a chance. And at the time, I didn't have a choice. My ex was incredibly dangerous. It was only a matter of time before something very tragic happened, worse than already happened. I want to be careful what I say on YouTube, but just hear me. If my ex had forced his way back into that house that I was living in, I really believe I know only one of us would have survived that. It was that bad. I had to leave, but I didn't leave to security. I left for a chance to live my life, to give my kids a life where they weren't afraid, where they weren't every time we stepped outside the door looking around to see if my ex was driving by. I'll just give you a little example of some of the fear that I had. I was always afraid of my ex. He's much bigger than me. He's brought loaded weapons to the house before. He's scared me many, many times. He's been physically abusive. I was living without him for 2 years before I left. And I lived in New Hampshire in this house that had 40 acres of woods behind it. So even though I did have neighbors, they couldn't see my backyard from their houses. They'd have to come over. There were trees everywhere, so there was no protection. One time, several years ago, a rabid raccoon was in my backyard, and police came over and shot it with a shotgun. Nobody even noticed. So this is the type of thing, I was living very isolated. I'd never left the house to get the mail without locking the door. My kids never left the house without looking all around. I never went out to my backyard chickens without bringing a weapon. So here I was one day, and I walked out to the coop with my weapon, of course, right? And for some reason, I can't remember why I did this, but I climbed into the coop. So I climbed into the coop. I was on my hands and knees. and one of the chickens jumped on my back. Now, this happened, it had to have happened in a millisecond. It was very, very quick, but it's amazing to me the way that your mind can work when you think about this type of thing. Here I was climbing into the coop. I'm on my hands and knees, and the chicken jumped on my back, and immediately I thought, oh my God, it's him. He's going to kill me. I believed that. I believed that that was what was going to happen, that I was being attacked by my ex, and this was it. The fear that I felt knowing this was about to happen, and it could not have lasted more than a second before I realized it was the chicken. And I was like, oh my gosh. I screamed. My kids did not hear me in the house. I told you I was isolated there. I screamed, and I realized it was the chicken, and I sat there inside the coop, with my knees put up to my chest, terrified. I was so scared. It was horrible. And that's the type of thing I was dealing with every single day. But even as bad as that was, I feel like there was like an insulation around me. I needed an insulation. I couldn't feel it at that moment. I felt it strongly. But there was a determination in me because I had kids, because I had my animals, and I even just myself, I wanted to live. I wanted my kids to have a good life. I didn't want this for them. So there was some type of insulation around me. I believe God put it there that enabled me to walk forward, to work, to do things, even though I was afraid. I didn't just collapse and just curl into the fetal position and let everything overtake me. I had something that moved me forward, just like, somebody running on a broken leg. But after I was free, after it was over, and it seemed like I had gotten everything that I wanted. What I needed most importantly was my children, and I needed full custody of my minor child. I had to have that. I was terrified that my ex was going to cause all types of issues with that. He didn't. He just let it go. I have my animals. I was safe. I don't walk outside my house afraid anymore. The kids are not afraid anymore. But the insulation has kind of worn off. It's worn off. Maybe I don't need it anymore. But it's left me, I feel just naked. I feel like I'm just all alone, and I'm scared. And what do I do now? Where do I go from here? And I can't believe this happened. I cannot believe it. When I think about certain things, yesterday, actually, there was a picture that showed up on my phone, and it was from when my son was a little boy. He was 2 or 3. We're at Cape Cod at my ex-in-laws' house. No, they weren't in the photo. It was just him sitting there. But it reminded me, it just made me think, the whole family abandoned me and my kids. Like my ex's family, literally, once I left, they don't care about their grandchildren anymore. And how can that be? How can this be? How can my kids have lost their grandparents? What happened? What type of sick psycho are these people? And that's where I had to remind myself, well, Sharon, you know exactly what type of sick psychos they are. This is real. We are living in real life. A problem that all of us have when you're dealing with a narcissist is you feel isolated and alone. And sometimes you are. I was isolated and alone for several years. It wasn't until the last few years when I wasn't with my ex anymore that I started to make friends and have a life. Of course, I had to abandon that life to be free. But before that, and even when I was talking to people, when I did have friends the last couple of years, people couldn't understand. They couldn't understand how bad it was, what really it's like being with a narcissist. Because you're dealing with something otherworldly. You're dealing with evil. And we're human beings. We're flesh and blood. And no, I'm not saying that narcissists aren't flesh and blood. But I am saying there's something around them. Just like I said, I had that insulation. I think we all do to a degree to get out. You have to have something in you that lets you do it. And that's, the shock, right? The shock lets us just move forward. But the narcissist, all they want to do is cause pain. They enjoy causing pain. And I don't know if it ever wears off for them. Does it wear off for them? Would my ex ever suddenly, because this drives me crazy. Talked about this with Joe so many times. My ex hasn't seen his kids in almost 4 years. 4 years. And I'm thinking about this. How can you possibly live? I wouldn't want to live without my kids. No, maybe that's drastic, but I'm just being real with you. My ex hasn't seen his kids for years. And he still carries on, like life is okay. He still decided to try to hurt me as much as possible in the divorce. There was no care or concern for them. It was just must punish Sharon, must punish Sharon. And I think all our narcissists are like that, right? Like they want to punish us, hurt us, destroy us at all costs. For me, at all costs, I needed to have my children. And I was hurt for it too, because that was the main priority. My ex wanted to bulldoze me in the divorce, and he did. Now, I haven't spoken too much about that because it's very painful. I do need to talk about that eventually because I really do want to help anybody who's about to divorce a narcissist. There are things that you need to know. But for me, I was living on adrenaline. I was living on fear, and I was living on, I need my minor child. I must have my minor child. And he got everything. But does he ever sit there and think, I lost everything? I don't care if I had $1 million. If I lost my children, there's nothing to live. You know, my ex, he lost his dog. You know, my dog had cancer. He passed away last year. My ex doesn't even know. And I think about it, it's crazy. And then it'll start going through my mind, like, how can this be? How can this happen? And then, you know, I'm sitting here and all of a sudden, what happened to me? What happened? Because I thought I was living a life and I wasn't. And now it makes me so angry and it makes me sad. And I wish more than anything that this didn't happen, you know, of course. But it's horrible, that shock. It just, the insulation I had, it's worn off. Like I said, I'm hoping this is a good thing, but it's very difficult. The depression has really hit me. I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. I cannot stand to be alone with my thoughts. I can't stand it. So I don't sleep without headphones in. I have to be listening to something while I'm falling asleep. If I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something, I still have that on. I keep that on. What has helped me, and maybe this will help somebody, I'll tell you a few things that have helped me. One thing that has helped me, because I know when I first wake up in the morning, it's the worst time of the day. I wake up, I feel like I have a 50-pound weight on my stomach. It's just absolutely horrible. To get out of bed is just, it's so hard. But what I've discovered is if I get myself out of bed, take a shower. And I take a quick shower. It's like a 3-minute shower. I just wash my hair and get out. I just need that shower for whatever reason. I take another one later. But I just take that quick shower. I get dressed, and then I think about, okay, I have a couple hours right now because I get up early. What am I going to do? I can work on YouTube. I'll put some shorts out, you know, read the Bible, read a book, whatever it is, make plans for whatever I want to do. My daughter gets up about 2 hours after me, and every morning we eat breakfast together. We read Bible together, and we just have a little bit of fun. Sometimes we gossip or whatever. I know that's not really Christian, but we do that. And we just have fun, so I look forward to that. And then once the day gets moving, it's better. It just seems like the quiet times are hard. I don't like it. You know, Joe suffers from this similarly to me. He's had it for longer than me, though. He likes to watch videos before we fall asleep. And, you know, so I'll watch a video with him, and then I put those earphones in. But there's been a couple of things that I've done also that help. I've found that helping other people is really a great motivator. It makes you feel better. The kids and I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Operation Christmas Child. We've done this for years, over 10 years. It's really great. If you haven't done it, I do recommend it. You know, Billy Graham, it's his son. I can't think of his name. Franklin Graham, I think. He has this thing where you take a shoebox, like a regular shoebox, and you fill it with gifts for underprivileged children. You know, you do some things like like this is what you put in there. There's a wow gift, so you're just like a stuffed animal, maybe like a ball with like an air pump. We put in makeup, jewelry, I'm like babbling right here. We put all types of fun stuff in there: toothbrush, toothpaste, certain medications. We fill it up with things that a child from a third world country can use. My kids and I have always done it, but the last couple of years, and especially this year, we went overboard. And it was such a great feeling to fill that shoebox up and do that for somebody else, and then turn them in, and just, we don't know who gets the box, but it made us feel good. You know, I did that, and that helped all of us. The kids and I, we loved it. It was fantastic. Joe did one with me too, and he got into it as well. It's great. You know, so I think about other people. I also think about a friend of mine, somebody you guys might know if you listened to my channel several years ago. Someone I loved very much died of lung cancer, and the whole time he was dying of lung cancer, I was dealing with this with my ex. So many times I would tell myself he would trade lives with me in a second. Very unfortunately, I know somebody else who has cancer now. He has pancreatic cancer, and it's horrible. Cancer is just, it's you guys know, it's terrible. This poor man, he's dying of cancer. He's young, he's in his early 50s, and he has a family, he has a grandchild on the way. And you know what he did the other day? He went out with his family buying a Christmas tree. He's all excited. He's talking about the grandchild. You know, he still works every day. He's in pain every day. He has to take time off every day, but he still works. He has a business. He goes in, he works. And I admire people like that. And I think, geez, now this guy doesn't know the specifics of my problems, but if he did, just like my friend who died several years ago, he'd trade with me in a second. So I think about those things. I think about what I can do for other people, and it kind of gets me out of my own head. But I do hope this passes, and this came as a big shock to me that this was going to happen. All of a sudden, reality hits you, and reality isn't always a good thing. And I miss what I thought I had. So tell me what your thoughts are on this. I'd love to hear it. I just wanted to get this out because somebody else is going through this. See, just like those Christmas boxes, I can help somebody else. So thank you guys. I will talk to you later in the week. I have some good stuff coming up on the channel. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.